Hey guys, welcome to my channel. Welcome to my daily YouTube vlog. Today's my special guest, my beautiful wife, Vicky. And we're here to talk about...
Hey guys!
We're here to talk about 1984.
It's a blast from the past.
Yes. So recently we watched Wonder Woman 1984.
Mm-hmm.
So we thought it would be fun to do a little bit of a blast from the past and talk about 1984, the year. So in 1984, DNA fingerprinting was introduced. The top song was Like a Virgin by Madonna. The big movies was Ghostbusters, Beverly Hills Cop, and Indiana Jones.
So who is the actor in Ghostbuster?
Well, the most famous actor out of all the actors in Ghostbusters was Bill Murray.
Mm-hmm.
Bill Murray, yeah.
And then the other one, the Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills Cop was Eddie Murphy.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of his major movies that really put him on the map. And Indiana Jones, The Temple of Doom, was another big hit in 1984.
So who was the actor?
The actor was Harrison Ford, who was also from Star Wars, but really made Indiana Jones very famous himself.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
What can you share us, me and the viewers, that about 1984? What can you share?
Well, one of the things about 1984 was the price of Peter Pan peanut butter, an 18-ounce jar, was only $1.29.
Mm-hmm.
Boulder Dash, the board game, was introduced,
Mm-hmm.
which I still haven't played. The Super Bowl champs was the Los Angeles Raiders over the Washington Redskins. The World Series champs was the Detroit Tigers over the San Diego Padres. And the NBA champs were the Boston Celtics over the Lakers. Also, Ronald Reagan took office for the second time in 1984. And Marvin Gaye died in 1984. He was shot by his father.
Aww. But Marvin Gaye is a what?
He's an R&B singer.
Mm-hmm.
He's an R&B singer. So, Andy Kaufman, who was a very famous comedian at that time, also died in 1984. May 16th, 1984, from lung cancer.
Oh my god. I mean, they're famous people, right?
Yes, he was very famous. He was a kind of a weird, out there, you don't know what to expect from comedian.
Mm-hmm.
Bruce Springsteen debuted his song Born in the USA, which became a mega hit.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing, guys.
Plus, before then, there was only PG ratings and R ratings. And was introduced, the PG-13 rating was introduced in 1984. And the first movie that was PG-13 was Red Dawn with Sean Connery.
Wow.
Yeah. Then the driving age went from the drinking age went from 18 to 21.
Yeah, I've heard about that, and then the first state implemented that is New York.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
Alex Trebek started on Jeopardy in 1984. And in September 17th, 1984, the Transformers were introduced, which I remember because I was 9 years old in 1984.
So it was the cartoon.
It was the toy into the cartoon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it started with the toys and then turned into a cartoon. The Cosby Show debuted in 1984.
What is the Cosby Show?
That was Bill Cosby. He got his own TV show in
Mm-hmm.
1984. He was a very famous comedian up until then, and then he became a TV star. And we all know what happened with Bill. But Miami Vice came out in 1984.
Is that a movie?
That was actually a TV show with Don Johnson.
So what is it all about?
Miami Vice was about two cops living in Miami, Florida, you know, fighting crime and stuff like that. It was a very popular show. And a fun fact about Miami Vice and Don Johnson is he was the first one to kind of do the no shave and have a scruff and made that very famous.
Okay.
Yeah. So, another cool one is Nightmare on Elm Street. The first one debuted in 1984.
I saw the movie, but I don't know if that was the 1984. Yeah.
The first one was Freddy Krueger, of course, was Freddy Krueger. And the first one was great. And then after that, I mean, I feel like, you know, they got less scary as time went on.
I see.
Seatbelt laws were invented in 1984. You all of a sudden had to wear a seatbelt if you were a driver or a passenger. And LeBron James was actually born in 1984.
Wow.
Yeah. Van Halen released their album 1984, which became a huge hit. And the band actually by 1985 had broken up.
Oh.
Yeah. And little fun fact about 1984 was Alex Trebek started on Jeopardy. Van Halen had their big hit 1984. And in 2020, Eddie Van Halen and Alex Trebek both passed away in 2020.
Wow, that's a coincidence.
So they were like cosmically linked in 1984 and then again in 2020. And the big thing about 1984 that I remember as a child, and it was very big news, and it was all over the TV, and it was talked about for months, was Michael Jackson's hair went on fire.
Why?
Well, he was doing a commercial for Pepsi, and he was coming down like the walkway, and he had tons of hair product in his hair, and there were pyrotechnics, and the pyrotechnics set his hair on fire.
Oh my God, really?
Yeah. And his hair was never the same after that. It always was a little weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So what do you think about all these facts about 1984?
I mean, I don't really have an idea because I was not born.
You're not born yet.
Yeah, I was not born yet. And then, as I watched the movie Wonder Woman, it's like it's different from my generation because like in 1984, like how people dressed up compared like nowadays, and
Well, the fashion was very funky in 1984. The music was very funky in 1984. One thing Wonder Woman had was they showed kind of like there were punks walking around. It was kind of from like a throwback from the 70s into the 80s where people had, you know, big mohawks that were painted green and, you know, leather jackets with spikes on it and stuff like that. Another thing Wonder Woman 1984 touched on was there were arcades in the malls everywhere. And us little kids, I was 9 years old, we were pumping quarters into those arcades and playing video games. Yeah.
But so what did you say about the movie?
The movie was good. The movie was good. I felt like
It was just too long. I think it was just too long without any fighting scene. You know what I mean? Like, I think people nowadays, like, they rather watch, like, especially like DC movies, like they want to watch or they want to see in the movie like more on fighting scene. But Wonder Woman 1984, it's more like talking, or it was too long. But
well, I felt like they didn't fully capture the 80s the way they could have captured the 80s.
If I would gonna like rate the movie, probably like 6.5.
I would give it a 6. I would give it a 6.
Yeah, because I mean, but I love Gal Gadot, but it's different.
So, is there anything you want to know about 1984? Ask me any question you would think to ask someone that lived through 1984.
Well, if I'm gonna ask you, like, what is the life?
Well,
if you're gonna compare 1984
to today.
today, like
To today.
like
well,
this
there's-
year, like 2021. So.
There's many differences. In 1984, everybody was much more carefree.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't as much stress going on as there is today. There wasn't as much depression, anxiety. There was no social media. There was, no real computers. Computers were just starting to come out in 1984. You had the Commodore, you had the Apple, you had IBM. You had a few people making computers, but nobody was using. There were no cell phones, there were no computers, there was no social media.
Mm-hmm.
There was none of that stress that comes with all those things that we see today. We see a lot of depression with the young people, we see a lot of anxiety with the young people today, and it was different like that. It was much more carefree. When I was in 1984, I was 9 years old, I was still in elementary school, and things were kind of honky-dory. Everybody was good, getting along pretty well. There was some crazy things happening in the world like always, but for the most part in New York and in America, there was a much more, innocence than there is today.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So my question is, how much is your allowance in 1984?
In 1984, believe it or not, I used to get probably like $10 from my mom for doing a whole list of chores.
Oh my God.
And my parents were divorced, so my dad used to give me $20 a week. So I was making out pretty good in 1984.
So you have like $30.
So I had about $30, and about 29 of that money went into playing video games. Went into quarters and video games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
What else?
So 1984 was a very memorable year. A lot took place in 1984. A lot took place in the 80s just in general. But I think one of the things was how funky and carefree and the way people just, it didn't matter how you dressed or what music you listened to or any of that. It was just more accepting of a time period. It was a more innocent time period, and it was a more happy-go-lucky time period.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for tuning in. Remember to give a big like and hit subscribe. Also follow my wife's channel.
Life with Vicky.
And follow us on Instagram under James Cipollina.
And Life with Vicky with 3 Ys.
And thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you next week. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.